This is Andy Purewell for Boxing News, joined by Teddy Atlas here in London. Teddy, the fighters have waned in. Joshua-Dubois, what goes down tomorrow night?
You got to favor Joshua, I think. I would favor him, especially early on. But it's no walk through the park, as you might say. Dubois is a different man than he was just 2 fights ago. 2 fights ago, he was a guy that didn't look like he would have a career in this sport. He did something that fighters, if they do, they usually get a death sentence in the sport. He broke down mentally. He gave in, you know, in 2 fights against Joyce and then, of course, against Usyk. But then what did he do? He redeemed himself. He came back with 2 unbelievable wins against Darryl Miller and against Herjavec. And he showed the will of a champion. He showed that he does have the heart to be a champion, the constitution, the determination. He overcame the most important thing that a person can overcome in life, the doubts of himself. And in that fight, in those fights, the Darryl Miller fight and also the fight against Herjavec, I think he would have fought for free. I really do, because he wasn't really fighting for money or for a record. He was fighting to find himself, to redeem himself, to find out if he could look in the mirror and feel good about himself, if he could walk down the street as a man and feel the way that a man needs to feel. So he's already accomplished what the most important thing, that he showed himself that he could depend on himself in a difficult, he could come back, he could overcome. That's a powerful thing to bring into the ring. The only problem for me is that in the Herjavec fight, I give him all the credit. He broke down Herjavec. Great will, great heart, but he took so many right hands to do it. Joshua's a much better puncher with the right hand. If he's got to take those kind of punches against Joshua early on, it's going to be hard to get to the finish line.
What do you think then is the key for Daniel Dubois to try and upset the odds?
I told you. His defense has to have improved. If his defense hasn't improved in the last 4 months, whatever it's been since that Herjavec fight, he might have I won't say a long night, he might have a short night. He's had to have learned to do this. Move his head and avoid those right hands. That's the most important thing. He already showed us now he's got the constitution and the will. He's got to couple that with the technique of avoiding punches. If he doesn't show that, like I said, it could be a short night. But if he can get close to Joshua, he's a good puncher too. He could catch Joshua standing straight up. He could hurt Joshua. But he's got to go through a bad neighborhood to get there.
Teddy, last week, Canelo Berlanga, what did you make of that fight and Canelo's victory?
Canelo looked great. He looked like a good wine, getting better with age. I mean, he's not as busy as he used to be. He's not, doesn't put punches together quite the same. But man, oh man, he threw accurate, clean, well-placed punches on the inside. His timing was beautiful. And he wouldn't let a young guy who wanted to grow in that fight, wanted to gain confidence, wanted to believe he could win, he wouldn't let him get to that place. He kept putting the pressure on him where he never let Berlanga really get control of the tempo, never really get to a place where he believed that he could win. He kept him under control. He stayed the boss all night, and Berlanga deserves credit, but Berlanga wasn't quite mentally mature enough. But this fight against Canelo should enormously help Berlanga. It really should. But I gotta give Canelo his credit, his flowers, if you will. He looked good. He looked very good, and nothing like a good old wine.
I have to ask you, Teddy, obviously we've just seen Terence Crawford walk past us, been talk about him and Canelo fighting. Everyone would love to see the Canelo-Benavidez fight. What next for Canelo? Because it seems to be the likes of the Berlangas among years, but those options aren't really there now.
When you're the money man, when you're the golden goose, that lays the golden eggs, when you're the pay-per-view king, you know what's next? Whatever you want. Whatever you want. The city is yours. You know, the world is yours. He brings the money. He can pick what he wants, and he's been doing that. And some people criticize him for it, but he earned the right to do it by putting himself in that position. How can you knock that?
Do you understand or do you question those remarks of people suggesting he's avoided Benavidez or questioning why he doesn't want to fight Terence Crawford?
No, he didn't say he wouldn't fight Terence Crawford. That you got wrong. He never said that. As far as my knowledge, he never said that. Terence Crawford is great. Is really great. I would never underestimate Terence Crawford. That would be interesting, even though he'd be giving up a lot of weight moving up. But Crawford's special. But I never heard that Canelo say he wouldn't fight Crawford. I haven't heard that. But has he avoided Benavidez? Yeah, I think it's fair saying that. But, hey, look, you also got to give him credit for his body of work, Canelo. He's got a pretty damn good body of work. I give him credit for that. Would I have preferred at 168 pound, if he wants to be the 168 pound king, that he also fought Benavidez when he was there? Would I have preferred that? Yeah, I would have. But he's, you know, he says they're talking about fighting Bivol again. If he does that, you know, and moves up and fights Bivol again, I give him a hell of a lot of credit. I give him credit now for what his body of work's been.
How would you rate his chances in a rematch with Dimitri Bivol now?
I like Bivol. I think Bivol is a special fighter. I mean, all the guys we're talking about are, but Bivol, I mean, puts it all together. You know, he's real good at controlling range, real good at being a magician, making you miss, keeping you off balance, creating a rhythm. He's really, his defense is very responsible, obviously. If he's got to fight with you, he can fight with you. He's mentally tough. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that he's mentally tough enough to deal with a guy like Beterbiev. That's good. You shouldn't be asking the question about him and Canelo. The question should be him and Beterbiev. You know, that is going to be an earthquake of a fight. That's going to be a hell of a fight and an interesting fight to see if guile and skills can beat the great power and will of one of the strongest willed people you're ever going to see in Beterbiev.
Teddy, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your time here in London. Enjoy tomorrow night. Thank you.
You're welcome.